lightweight blade in hand. It feels really light and fast.
I'm going to start this review out by showing you the Sheath first. It's got lots of personality, lots of character. I love it. Check this out. Oh, now that is a cool sheath. It makes a statement, don't you think? When people see you wearing this knife, this sheath combination, they're going to think one of two things. Number one, that dude knows what he's doing. Nobody's going to wear a knife like that, of that size, unless he knows what he's doing. Now, right or wrong, I'm saying that's just what they're going to think. Number two, they might say, hey, check it out. There goes Crocodile Dundee. Who? Crocodile Dundee, youngster. Google it. You'll see what I'm talking about. It is a fabulous cowhide sheath. Made to resemble, I don't know, crocodile, alligator there in the center. That is cowhide as far as I know. And it's just superb in its construction. Check out the stitching. Perfection. The rolled edges, waxed edges, perfection. Hey, Nutnfancy, we thought you only liked Kydex sheaths. Well, there is some truth to that, but it's not entirely true. It depends on the philosophy of use, depends on the knife, and what you want to do with the knife. I think a Kydex sheath is a better option up in the woods when it's wet, when it's snowy, when it's raining, just for practicality. But we're not always about practicality, are we? No, sometimes we can get both functionality and practicality. It just depends what the knife is. Check it out on the back. So you have two options to carry this knife. There's a middle loop right there if you want to carry it a little bit higher. And there's a larger loop right there. And it's press fit. No surprise there. There's no retention snap. It's just press fit. Here's a tip from me, by the way. When you work with a traditional sheath like this, don't store the knife in it, because it will loosen up over time. And I don't do it with this knife at all. I'll take it out, put it in the box, and then when it's time to go use the knife, bam, it goes in, and you'll have this type of fit. A quality fitted traditional leather sheath, which looks like it's made out of crocodile once again. The knife, of course, is also awesome. I mean, the sheath is great. It's great to have a cool looking sheath to impress your friends. Have a certain style, look, character, whatever you want to call it. But if the knife sucks, I'm not interested, and I probably won't do a review on it. But that's not the case here. You're looking at the Bark River Knives TB3, that is Trailbuddy 3, and you are watching the Nutnfancy project well into year 5. This is the knife show. You keep watching the vids, I keep making them. That's our agreement. It's July 2013 when I am reviewing this knife, video form right now. I got done testing it though in early spring over the winter, a couple outings with the Trailbuddy 3. So my testing was conducted in the mountains, late winter and early spring snow on the ground. As a backpacker, an outdoorsman, and yes, still a knife addict, sometimes that can yield some interesting data. I'll do the best I can right here in this tabletop review to share it with you. And that takes us to, you guessed it, philosophy of use. Hey, Nutnfancy, you're right. That is a cool looking sheath. It is a cool looking knife. But what's it good for? That's what we talk about when we discuss philosophy of use. How you intend to employ the item in your systems. Well, let's go back to the name first and foremost. It is called the Trailbuddy. And there are several versions of this knife. This is the largest as far as I know. No, I'm not the expert on the history of this knife. I think it is a version of the old Marbles Woodcraft shape though. The Trailbuddy series. But back to POU. What's it good for? The way I think of this knife, first and foremost, is a large camp knife. I don't know if you'd say a large survival knife, because honestly, and I keep it real here, you know that, I'm not sure the knife is tough enough to be an all-around, you know, do or die survival knife. I'll show you why here in a sec. But as a large camp knife, doing camp-related tasks, yes, batoning to an extent, fieldcraft to an extent, definitely food preparation, absolutely, and other things that a camp knife is called upon to do. I think this large Trailbuddy III is up for it. Totally. Now, if we do baton with it, and I did plenty of it with this knife, it will work just fine. It did not break. It did not fail. It did, however, you're looking at it right now, I know you are, bend on me a little bit. It has kind of a thin edge, a convex edge on the Trailbuddy. It's made of A2 steel, an air-hardened tool steel. Bark River does a great job with this steel. I've reviewed some other knives that they use A2 in, and I think it's great. Is it my first choice up in the woods? I would say probably not. Not for me. Your mileage may vary. And one of the reasons why is as I was, you know, batoning in the snow, lo and behold, I hit a rock or whatever I hit, and it will bend on you. Now, when I'm talking about stainless steel camp knives, maybe if you want to stretch it, stainless steel survival knives, I'd rather have it bend than break. You know, if this knife, this Trailbuddy III, was made of D2, it probably would have chipped. You know? I got to tell you, I did not test batoning this knife in super cold conditions. The opportunity just did not present itself. I would have, though, and I would be really interested how it did. In, like, I don't know, let's say 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Will the A2 hold up? I don't have the answer for you. I suspect it would, knowing Bark River's quality on their metals.
This Bark River.
But I got to keep it real, and the real part is it did do that. Now, can you take that out? Does it ruin the knife? No, it doesn't ruin the knife at all. I just left it the way it happened up there in the mountains so I could show you right here in tabletop and let you make a conclusion for yourself. But this is why I say I don't know if it's a do or die survival knife. You know, a survival knife to me has to be really, really tough. Usually, not always, that means it's a carbon steel variety, 5160, 1095, properly tempered.
Hammer that tip
Thickness
really
is highly, I don't know, controversial when we talk about a survival knife. This one is 0.2 inches in thickness, and I think that's a great choice for the Trailbuddy.
D40 on it still.
Remember the POU, we're talking about big camp knife, not all-around survival knife. Well, maybe it could be. I'm just throwing it out there in my own perceptions of the blade. Okay, how about other philosophies of use? How about a fighting knife, Nutnfancy? I just don't see it in this knife. Maybe it's because we lack top traction here. We don't have guards on the top. Any big knife could be used to defend your life, like we said, or like I just flubbed up your knife, your other knife. Kidding.
Blade.
But I don't see it. I think it lacks a little bit of traction. I don't think that's its calling in life. Obviously, to me, it's a big camp knife. And of course, it could be a collectible. You know, it is cool. If you're a big knife aficionado, you like them. I do. You have some in your collection. You might want to spring for a Trailbuddy III. Yes, it's expensive. We'll talk about that. Most of the Bark River knives made in the United States up there in Michigan are. If you don't like it, talk to Mike Stewart. That's just the cost of doing business and staying in business with a U.S. workforce and producing a knife of this quality. You know, you guys know that. By the way, I don't know if that's how you spell canvas. I could be wrong. Black canvas model, matte canvas is what you're looking at. Now I'm going to leave philosophy of use right there. You might add some others. I don't know. Weight, balance, and feel. 13.8 ounces for the knife itself with a sheath, 20 ounces. It's in the ballpark. It's competitive for the big, broad blade the Trailbuddy III is. Look at that thing. I mean, seriously. Also, I think of this as a finesse chopper.
It'll chop.
I didn't say that in philosophy of use. As an all-around big camp knife, I think it should be able to chop some. I did plenty with this knife, and it did well. I mean, I cross-cut some logs. Not huge logs, but some. And it worked. Is it the best chopper around? Nope. It can't be. I mean, look at the thickness. .2, and then it has a, kind of an aggressive taper going to the tip. So it's not really a weight forward design. It's kind of a bolo style chopper, but it can do it. It's a finesse chopper. But other than that, I love the blade style. It is very functional. It can roll cut well. It's got great belly on it. Unsharpened swedge right here. It's got a flat right here for resharpening. Oh wait, I made a mistake. No, it's not a traditional grind. It's convex. Hey, Nutnfancy, I love the convex grind. I gotta level with you. I usually don't, because I think it's harder for me to sharpen. I know. I've heard it all, dudes. Just use, fine sandpaper. It's no big deal, man. It's easier than a normal grind, Nuttin. Get with it. I know. Someday maybe I will. The balance is outstanding on this. I think it's probably right where my index finger is. That's pretty good balance for this big old camp knife. 8-inch blade once again. Blade steel A2, we talked about that a little bit. Well, Nutnfancy, what steel would you like to have? Well, it's Bark River. They have their own thing they're doing over there, and they like their steels. I think most manufacturers do. Each one kind of has its own approach to steels, and I kind of buy into it. It's like, hey man, if you temper it well, I'll buy a knife and use it and get a little bit more experience. I'm not a steel expert by any means. I'm just a user. A backpacker trying to minimize my work, trying to minimize TCE up there. I'll take it. I would say maybe CPM 3V. I just used a stainless knife up there. Today, actually, I was testing with Blade HQ, a knife. You'll see it coming out on their channel. And I'll tell you what, man, I was really, really impressed with how that knife did. But plot alert, plot spoiler, it kind of bent too. Just a little bit, but it was my fault. There you go. A2, I can swing with it. Watch out for the rust though. On the top, I had a run of skateboard tape. It has peeled off since because I had this soaking in oil accidentally. That's why this is discolored so dark. And underneath, I peeled it up, and then you have some discoloration going on there. Moisture got there on the A2 from the snow outings. It happens. It's just going to rust on you. That's another reason why perhaps you sense I'm not super enthusiastic about the steel. I'm not. Other guys will love it and they'll rave about it. It's usually used in fighting knives, and some of the other ones I've reviewed on Bark River, those fighting knives use it. Great choice. Handle. Here comes a big plus of why I really like the knife, not just the sheath, but the knife. Look at how comfortable that handle is. How roomy the handle is. I don't know why this is so hard for some manufacturers to get right. I'm talking about the roominess of perhaps a chopping knife, a large camp knife, but this knife gets it right. No hot spots. Nice rounding job on that black canvas micarta. Just a perfect job. I do wish these slabs were removable, but oftentimes Bark River doesn't do that. Especially with an A2 steel, where you could dunk it in salt water, have some issues of corrosion. You're stuck. They're pinned. So I'm not super fond of that. I didn't find that this portion here, banged my pinky when I was chopping with it. A lot of times when a handle sweeps down aggressively like that, it'll just batter the end of my hand, and I just hate it. Didn't happen, or I didn't notice it or remember it. There's where you put your 550 cord if you want it. I dig that. It's kind of an angled pommel though, obviously full tang, you can see that. So hammering with it is going to be difficult. You might have a technique I've never seen before and you can do it. Overall, I will say excellent job on the handle. And that will bring us to the many varieties, at least as of 2013, that are available for the Trailbuddy. Here comes a few right now. All types of different handle materials, and it may or may not add cost to your purchase price, which might harken back to the collectible philosophy of use. I know for a fact there are a lot of people that collect Bark River knives that never use them in the woods, that will never go up in the mountains, use them, will never go out into their section of woods and use them, but they have intentions to. The years go by, they don't, and so they just end up with a really cool Bark River knife collection. And that's, I think, where all these different varieties of the Trailbuddy might come into play. They have burl, G10, micarta, different handle materials. But like all Bark River knives, they are a limited run. They only make a few of each handle material as far as I know. Mike and company there in Michigan. And then when they sell out, they're gone. They're gone. Once again, the sheath. One more look. I love that sheath. There are no drainage holes. It is a traditional cowhide sheath. And that means if you get it in the rain, if you get it in the snow and you soak it, these cool looks may be gone. That's right. So like I said at the outset, it just depends on where you're taking a knife. You know, you're going to a Mountain Man festival. Great choice of a knife, Mountain Man knife. If you're going to get it wet, you might look at making a Kydex sheath for it. Going out hard using that, saving this for collectability, just coolness. I think this is put together by Sharpshooter Systems. I think that's what they're called there. Just a beautiful sheath. Quality, durability. It's a Bark River. So what can I say? The quality is there. I mean, these guys are very particular how they put together a knife. Look at the fit and finish. Hopefully that's focusing. I'll put it against a crocodile here. The mating of the surfaces, all top notch. The grinding, top notch. I mean, this knife has some wear on it, but you get the idea. The finishing of the blades, outstanding. The hardening, once again, as far as I know on the steels, outstanding. I think as long as you're careful with this knife, perhaps not as I have been, I think the knife will last. I don't think it will break on you. No, I won't guarantee it won't. It won't. Hard use, hardcore survival knife, perhaps not. But remember this, you know, it's A2. How many large camp knives made of A2 are there out there? Probably not too many. For competitive options, dudes, I'm going to have you go to my playlist. I'm not going to cover it here because I have lots of videos out there posted since 2008 talking about large survival knife options. A couple stainless steel ones I think I've reviewed over the years, but they're hard to find. You know, you can go in there, see what you get. It's expensive though when you talk about value. It just is. This is showing a list of 260. I bought this at the DLT Trading Company. I think that's the name of it. Love those guys. I've been buying my Bark River knives for review there for a long time. Highly recommended if you buy Bark River. And I want to say this knife was not 260. It was like, I don't know, 210-ish. Something like that. Again, it just depends what handle material you get. You know, is it worth it? You decide. I would say yes. It's a one-of-a-kind knife. It is very capable. Has an extremely high cool factor, I would say. Crocodile Dundee. Have you looked that up yet? Yeah, that's what it reminds me of. But beyond that, beyond the character that the sheath lends it, you know, the beauty of the design, the functionality of the design, the belly, you know, it is a finesse chopper. The quality and the workmanship, I think the knife can get it done up there in most tasks that you might come across. That's a Nutnfancy review. See ya.